Hey, this is Jason.
Hi, this is Juliana.
We're here with Baguette Bound. Today, we are going to be talking about moving across the world to go to school in a new country and in a new language. Join us. Okay, so about a year ago, we moved to France from the United States. You started middle school right when we moved. We'd been in France for what?
A month.
Almost a month,
Almost
maybe,
a month.
when school started. And you were thrust right in. So we're going to talk about that today. So what was that like? What was your impression? What was your first impressions of being launched into French middle school?
Oh, I was kind of freaked out because I don't think I really realized how much French there was going to be, which I know sounds silly because I knew I was moving to France, a French country. There happens to be French. Not sure if you knew that. But yeah, it was just kind of surprising when there was like no English and what most of my teachers didn't speak English.
How much French did you know on day one?
Bonjour, comment ça va? And that was the end of it.
So
merci. Don't forget about that one.
Almost 5 words?
Yeah, almost.
So when you walked into school the first day, what was your impression? What were you thinking?
It was like an, oh my god, what am I doing here? Yeah. I have no clue what's happening. That was pretty much my moment of freak out.
Pretty overwhelming at the beginning. Now that you've been here a year, can you compare kind of the French school experience to the US school experience? What are the things you liked in one? What are the things you liked in the other? What's better in France?
Well, what's better in France is that the lunches are longer, so you don't have to just shove the food down your throat.
How long do you have for lunch?
I have 2 hours on most days, and then an hour 45 on Monday.
Okay. That's a long lunch. That's nice.
Yeah.
A big difference in France, one of the benefits, one of the positives, is a really long lunch break. Mm-hmm. Do you only eat lunch?
I eat lunch, sometimes do homework, I hang out with my friends. I read a lot during lunch.
What about in the US? What was better in the US?
What was better in the US? I liked, well, not my favorite, but I liked how there were like more options for extracurricular activities, because here it's like there's a few options but not very many, and they're just not as popular, or at least what I like doing isn't as popular.
Okay, so you think in the US there were more extracurricular activities at school?
Yeah, definitely, that school like hosted.
Okay, so more of an educational focus in France.
Yeah.
And there was just a more wide range of activities.
That was like stay after school in the US.
Yeah, okay. So at school in France, were there times where you felt particularly out of place, where you really felt like a foreigner in a new country?
Geography class, which
Why?
might seem kind of random.
Why geography class?
Because in the US, you will realize quickly when you come to France that we have learned nothing in geography. I mean, they've learned, my French friends can recite not all of, but most of the 50 states in the US. And yet I cannot tell you all the countries in Europe, and yet they still can. Because like on the first week, I think it was the first week of school, my first or second history class, my history teacher was like, okay, we're gonna start off something super simple. And it was just like putting names on countries. Like you just had to name all the countries.
So what was your thought when you were given a super simple assignment that everybody should know? And that was the first week of school? Yeah,
so I didn't understand it either that much.
Yeah. What else? Are there any other particular things that in French school you feel out of place at?
Sometimes at lunch, especially for the first 2 weeks maybe, I was really kind of still surprised, I guess, with lunch, because lunch is so much better in France. So you have more time to eat, obviously, and then you get 3 to 5 courses of lunch depending on what you choose, and all the food is good. Well, I mean, every once in a while there's not, but most of the time everything is good. Yeah, it just kind of surprised me, and my friends were kind of laughing at me a little bit because they were like, oh, that's so funny, the American thinks it's so cool how we have all these different kinds of foods, that's so normal. And I was like, no, this is not normal.
So you felt out of place, but in a good way.
Yes.
This was still a great experience having lunch.
Yeah.
While you've been in school here in France, has there been a class or teachers that have been particularly supportive and helpful?
My FLE teacher.
What does FLE stand for?
Français Language Étrangère.
And that means French language for foreigners. Yeah, it's kind of like maybe the English as a second language classes or ESL classes in the United States. The school you went to, and we made sure that it had an FLE program, which is designed to help kids who don't speak French learn French. So when you started, you went there how often during the week?
I mean, Wednesdays I spent all the whole of Wednesday I went to FLE, almost all of Tuesday, and then most of Monday, but yeah.
And in that class, they would help you with French, the French language. What else would she help you with?
And my teacher, my favorite teacher, she would help with like just feeling more comfortable in the French system. Yeah. If I needed like me or the other girl, my other friend that went to FLE with me, that like helping us with anything if we're confused or lost, if we're like, I don't know where this class is. On the first couple days, she pretty much like led us around school.
And then as the year progressed, how did this class change?
I just kind of slowly got less and less time in the FLE courses. Mm-hmm. So like I had, actual like not FLE course during Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday.
More math, more French, more geography, more history.
Oh, one other, like with the feeling comfortable thing, it was kind of funny because she asked me and my friend at some point, what are holidays that you miss? And I said Thanksgiving, and she was like, oh, so explain Thanksgiving. And so I explained what it is, and then she's like, okay, we'll have mini Thanksgiving. And I was like, how do you have mini Thanksgiving? She's like, I'm not sure yet, but I'm gonna figure it out. And so then one day in FLE, we had like a mini Thanksgiving party, and we had like king cake and orange juice, and it was really fun.
Your FLE class was wonderful. They did a lot of outreach with the parents as well to help make sure that we understood as well. They knew that we did not speak good French. So what about like friendships and making new friends? What was your approach? What was that like going into a new school with mostly French speakers and trying to make new friends? What happened?
Well, on the very first class, so in my very first class that I'd ever been in French school, and this is like 2 weeks late, so I started a couple weeks late into school. And so my math teacher, which was my first class, what my friend said was that she asked like if anyone can be like my chaperone, I guess, for this day to help me figure out where my classes are, because I did not know what I was doing and I did not know where I was going. So, and like my current friend now, she raised her hand and then she got picked, and she came up to me after class and said like...
And she spoke excellent English.
Not really, she just spoke French.
Oh.
And so she came up to me after class, at lunch, and she was like, you, me, friends. We friends? Good? And I was like, yes, good. And she's like, great. And so that was kind of funny, and then after that, we've just been friends till now, I guess.
Yeah.
And we're still friends.
Were there any other like memorable moments from the year, kind of the friendship making and meeting all these new people? So
I have one friend, and she talks super fast in French, and I almost never understand what she's saying, and I just go, yeah! So one time I actually understood what was going on, and still sometimes I don't understand what's going on, but the first time that I actually understood what she was talking about, I was so excited, and I like did a little celebratory dance. And my friends looked at me like, what are you doing? And I was like, I understood everything she just said. I'm so happy. They're like, oh, great job.
Okay, so now that you've been here a year, you've been in French school for a year, if you could go back in time and talk to Juliana and her dad dropping her off at school on that first day, what would you tell them? They're pretty nervous and they're feeling a little overwhelmed, but what would you tell them?
You don't have to be quite so nervous. I think I was a bit overly nervous that day, which can be expected, when you're going into middle school and 2 weeks late in a foreign country in a different language that you don't speak. I think that can be expected, but I think I would tell myself, don't worry, everything's gonna work out. You'll be fine. And that it gets easier. Like it's hard, but it's not quite as hard as I thought it was gonna be.
Was there a moment where it definitely felt easier? Do you remember there being
I think
Kind of the tipping point during the year?
later in the year. It was like around just before or just after Christmas break. I can't remember. And I think I actually like fully understood the whole question my teacher asked and answered the question, like the right answer for that question. And I was like, oh, I did it! And it was really cool. It was really great. I answered a question. And I wasn't confused. And I didn't have them repeat it 14 times.
Yeah. So it gets easier. Every day it
Yeah.
gets easier, but it's a slow process.
Yep.
Well, good job. You've done great. Okay, well, thank you for joining us. If you have experiences going to school in another country, share them in the comments below. If you have questions about what was school like, any tips or advice that we didn't mention in this one, leave them down below as well, and we'll try to get them answered.
We will respond.
We will respond.
Yes, we will.
Okay, thanks for joining us. Bye.
Bye.